the kind of domination that the army enjoyed in Pakistan seems to be coming to an end. The current government is really completely out of sorts. It's not in control. It is seen as weak, vacillating, confused. Its ideology is probably 16th century. So these are not guys who can actually deliver anymore. We've seen Imran Khan in office for over 3 years, and he's been a bit of a disaster. The army seems to have convinced itself that it is the only solution to Pakistan's problems. They've installed a government which had actually people who had lost the election were made to win in a completely rigged election. The Pakistan army chief was also the beggar in chief in Pakistan. There is some good news and some bad news coming out of Pakistan. This is an emerging kind of a situation which is developing in India's neighborhood. The good news is that the Pakistan army, which was seen at one point of time as this colossus that was, whose shadow was looming large over Pakistan, which called all the shots in Pakistan, which controlled everything in Pakistan. Some of it was an exaggeration, yes, but there was this impression that the army was the be-all and end-all of everything in Pakistan. That seems to be changing and changing very fast. The kind of domination that the army enjoyed in Pakistan seems to be coming to an end. That's the good part. The bad part is that there is nobody waiting in the wings to fill in the vacuum that will be created in that country once the army loses the kind of dominance and primacy it has had in Pakistan's political and the life of the Pakistani state since Pakistan came into existence. The current government, which includes virtually the entire political spectrum except PTI or Imran Khan, is really completely out of sorts. It's not in control. It is seen as weak, vacillating, confused. It has no idea on how to get Pakistan out of the kind of rut it finds itself in. Its prescriptions are like 20th century ones. Its attitudes are probably 19th century. Its ideology is probably 16th century. So these are not guys who can actually deliver anymore. The only people other than them is the PTI or Imran Khan. And frankly, we've seen Imran Khan in office for over 3 years, and he's been a bit of a disaster. So Pakistan really has nobody who is going to be able to fill that vacuum once the army is no longer in charge or the army is no longer in a position to call the shots. That is the evolving situation. The thing is that for now at least, the army seems to have convinced itself that it is the only solution to Pakistan's problems, even though I think most of the Pakistanis now realize that the problem itself is the army. It's not the solution to Pakistan's problems. But for now, because the army thinks that it's God's gift to Pakistan, it is actually doubling down on establishing or re-establishing its control in Pakistan and to call all the shots, to behave like that puppeteer who controls everything, but it's not working. For now at least, what the Pakistan army has been doing is that they've installed a government which had actually people who had lost the election were made to win in a completely rigged election and foisted onto the governance seat, and they cobbled together that support for them so that they had a majority of sorts. But this is a government which simply nobody takes seriously anymore, neither politically nor in the economic domain, nor certainly they don't call the shots in the security domain. Diplomatically, frankly, I think it would be a surprise if anybody was to take them seriously. So this is that government which they've installed, which is not working, which is not able to function, which is not even able to manage the politics in the country. Economically, they've tried to set up supra organizations like the SIFC, which has in over a year really nothing to show for it. The Pakistan Army chief was also the beggar-in-chief in Pakistan, because over the last decade or so, the big donors, especially in the Arab world, would not be taking Pakistani prime ministers seriously. So the Pakistan Army chief had to go to China, go to Saudi Arabia, UAE and other countries with the begging bowl, and then come back and say that, okay, fine, I've managed to get some money, we can run the country for a few more weeks, months, maybe a year or so. Even that is not working anymore. Nobody is taking the Pakistan Army chief very seriously anymore. So economically, they're not doing well. And on the security domain, I think there are serious challenges coming the Pakistan Army way. We saw what happened in Balochistan when the Baloch freedom fighters launched this very complex and coordinated operation called Operation Herof, which actually has shaken the Pakistan Army and the military establishment to its core. Because the kind of organization, the kind of skills, the kind of capacities and capabilities that the Baloch freedom fighters displayed is something which should be of very serious concern. In KP, for example, we have seen relentless attacks from the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. The Taliban are not kowtowing to the Pakistani demands, and you have now the spectre that the Pakistan Army, which way back in 2008, 2009, when they were launching these major operations in the tribal areas and other parts of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, there was a lot of public support for those operations. This time around, when the Pakistan Army announced this very ambitious kind of a program, all-encompassing program, Azm-e-Istekam, it has found absolutely no takers for it. The situation is such that there are at least 2 or 3 places in KP where the police is actually demonstrating on the streets, blocking roads, protesting, and wants the army out of their areas, because they say that the army is not able to restore law and order, the army is not able to fight the terrorists, and if we are equipped, we can do a much better job than what the army can do. The army, the cops in KP are saying that the army is part of the problem, it's not part of the solution. Now, this is as far as the security thing is concerned, and most of all, the Pakistan Army's image in Pakistan is mud. Even the politicians who have been brought into power in Pakistan are trying to distance themselves from the Pakistan Army. Now, there was a time not very long back, maybe about a decade back, maybe even less than a decade, people like Imran Khan and others would actually be craving to be adopted by the Pakistan Army and their path to power paved by the Pakistan Army. In fact, everybody in Pakistan has come into power by climbing onto the shoulders of the Pakistan Army. So there was a situation where it was seen as something of great pride. People used to take great pride in the fact that they were being patronized by the Pakistan Army and were being promoted by the Pakistan Army. Today, anything like that is a kiss of death for a politician. So much so that the Shahbaz Sharif government, which only depends, which only staying in power because it has been given the crutches and it's a spine of sorts by the Pakistan army. Otherwise, this would collapse like a house of cards tomorrow. This government itself is now trying to put some, at least for show, even if not they are actually doing it, even if it's only for show, they're trying to put some distance between them and the army. And one example of that is the kind of noises we've heard in parliament from the treasury benches after the Pakistan army forced the Islamabad police to enter the parliament and arrest PTI leaders, some of them parliamentarians, from inside parliament, and thereby desecrating parliament, if one can, if there's anything left in the Pakistani parliament to be desecrated. They've done that. And the speeches that have followed from that particular action, from across the board, people have either been ducking for cover or trying to actually seek accountability for what happened on the 9th and 10th of September, and that action of the police was prompted by a rally of Imran Khan's party. A rally which, with all the restrictions that had been put on it, was a stupendous success. The kind of turnout at that rally, despite all the roadblocks, despite all the restrictions on how long the rally can be, what can be said, cannot be said in the rally, the containerization of that entire region, blocking everything so that people's movement is restricted. Despite everything, it was a stupendous success. And I think that kind of scared the hell out of the army, that Imran Khan has pulled out, despite the fact that he's in jail, he's pulled out another surprise. He won the elections in February 8th. He was denied victory by rigging. And he has a few months down the line, 6 months down the line, he has shown that his popularity remains intact by holding a rally from the jail, which has been a huge success, a mammoth rally, if one might call it that. And that kind of has scared the Pakistan army, and they've started clamping down even harder on the PTI, trying to remove the entire second-rung leadership. But the speeches that were made both in the rally as well as in parliament suggest that people are not ready to be bullied by the Pakistan army anymore, and people are fighting back. Now, the Pakistan army, of course, there are some people in the Pakistan army who have been quoted on Pakistani television channels as saying that, look, we are the protectors of the Pakistani state, we don't care for popularity, we will do what is right by Pakistan, as though they've done what is right by Pakistan in the last 75 years. In fact, they've lost more territory, they've lost all wars, they have distorted and completely messed up the political system in Pakistan. They have done, immeasurable damage to Pakistan. And there's, frankly, so one doesn't really know what they're trying to save anymore. But this is what, senior officers have been quoted by people who have been in contact with them, that the Pakistan army is saying we're not in this for a popularity contest, which is why what they are trying to do is put up a civilian facade, and then behind that civilian facade impose a kind of a martial law in which the army calls all the shots, but the blame is taken by the civilians. Now, this they are doing simply because they know that they are deeply unpopular. And frankly, the one thing which the Pakistani army cannot afford is to be deeply unpopular. Now, what happens is that it is all very well to say for public consumption that we don't care for popularity, but one of the things that there was a necessary condition for the Pakistan army, which was that it had the force behind it, the brute force behind it to capture power. So that was the necessary condition, but the sufficient condition was that the power which it grabbed had to be popular, it had to be accepted by the people. That acceptance is no longer there. So the Pakistan army is trying to impose a kind of a martial law behind a civilian facade because it knows it does not have popular acceptance. But it's not working. That ploy clearly is not working if you look at the kind of drift which is continuing in the state of affairs. And for the Pakistan army, the problem is that even in the past, every time the general or the dictator became unpopular, the Pakistan army was forced by the streets to step back. Whether it was Ayub, whether it was Yahya, it was Zia. Zia had become deeply unpopular. It was probably Providence or Americans or somebody else who ensured that he went to meet Allah and his plane crashed or was bombed out of the sky. But he had become deeply unpopular, and many people at that point of time were saying that his continuation in office is untenable, or Musharraf for that matter, who had also become deeply unpopular, and there was pressure from within the army that he needs to go. So the army, when it becomes deeply unpopular, has to change its general, and that is what the current cabal in Pakistan surrounding Asim Munir is afraid of, that there could be pressure from within the army, because there are very serious and very credible reports of deep divisions within the army's rank and file, which are simply, they're trying to paper it over, but they're not able to bridge those divides. And the pressure is continuously growing. What the army is trying to do is crack down on some of the dissident element, but what that is going to lead to is that all that dirty linen and all those dirty tricks and shenanigans of the Pakistan army will come tumbling out, which will only damage the reputation of the Pakistan army much more than what it already is damaged. So clearly they have a serious problem on their hands, and they don't seem to have any idea on how to fix it. The calculation seems to be that, look, yes, things are messy, but we can deal with this problem in a symptomatic manner. Yes, Pakistan is in a kind of a terminal cancer stage, but this terminal cancer can be treated with the Disprin or some symptomatic treatment, and as those symptoms emerge, we'll treat them and we can continue, and this can continue indefinitely. My own sense is that this cannot continue indefinitely. The pressures are growing, the problems are growing, and there are no solutions in sight. So going back to what I started with, the good news is that the Pakistan army is no longer in control. It's no longer enjoys the kind of domination it had in the past, and that's being pared down at an alarming speed. But the bad news is there is nobody with any idea, with any political capital, with the kind of charisma and the capability to step in and then fill the vacuum that will be created when the dominant force becomes a kind of redundant. So that is what we are heading to. It will have consequences for India, it will have consequences for the region, it will have consequences for Pakistan itself, but we will have to wait and see how that plays out.